What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks, and welcome to tonight's episode. We're going to be talking about a bevy of things, but most importantly, we're going to be talking about Christopher Nolan, about his filmography, about the movies that we love, and this week was his birthday, so I get to put on the It's My Birthday music for him. That's neat. I've got two very cool guests with me. First, I want to introduce Chaz. How's it going, man? You're here?
It's Friday.
Yeah!
I always say that.
I know. Well, we say it's Friday, but the enthusiasm dips the further along in the pandemic we go. And now it's like, it's Friday. You know, it's like...
So we're doing the same thing over again.
Right? Oh, it means something still, right? Friday, weekend. We have those.
Sure, let's go with that.
Well, along with Chaz, we've got a returning guest who was on for the Big Gay episode, but now we're here to talk about all kinds of stuff with Nolan. It's Adam. How's it going, man?
Hey, pretty good. How are you doing today?
So well. And I'm so happy to have you on, man.
Thank you.
How long has it been? It's been like
it's
about
been
a month since, right?
A month and change, probably, yeah, because we did our Pride episode back in June because, Pride was canceled because of COVID. So we just kind of did our own celebration, so.
It was a celebration. We got to use way too many sound effects for that, and I loved every minute of it. And also joining us today, he is a part of the crap. How am I getting this wrong already? How did I forget this? Oh no!
Movies That Make Us.
Movies That Make Us podcast. He's part of the Movies That Make Us podcast because I was wanting to start with Cast Off, and I was like, I had my mind set on Cast Off because we are co-competitors, or we were co-competitors on the show. And you just finished up your round last week.
Could be competing against each other.
Yep, absolutely. So I wanted to welcome you to the show. Man, how's it going? You here? Oh, he dipped.
Oh.
I pissed him off.
He's there.
He was like, God
Am I
damn
here?
it.
Am I back?
Movies That Make
You're
Us.
back, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
You forgot the name of the show. I'm out.
Son of a bitch. Yep. No, I'm glad you
take
didn't
my
do that.
microphone and go home. Oh, wait, I'm already home.
I know. I remember, Tracy, when we went to do a podcast at the Megaplex Theater, I think that was the last, going out to do a thing with a group of people I did until quarantine hit. But that was super fun. We got to look at the IMAX theater.
I think that was my last one, too.
Mm-hmm. It was good. But we've got some stories today. Not a ton, because we're going to really jump into the thing that I've been wanting to talk to is Christopher Nolan. And I get to use that sound effect, too.
Yay.
So, first, let's talk about the news that started off the week. Very interesting between NBC Universal and AMC. They have finally reached an agreement to work out whatever kerfuffle they had with Trolls World Tour. And they're going to be doing a new thing where they can take advantage of people who do go to the movie theaters with 17 days of exclusivity for their theater. From that point on, though, any movie that's distributed from Universal can go up on VOD, on video on demand. This is a big shakeup, and it's one of the first big, I guess, moves between a studio and a theater as far as working together through the pandemic to try to, save each other with this. But I want to start with Adam. What do you think about this, and where do you see the pros and the cons?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing we have to think about is that, movie theaters for the most part haven't been open since, March, I would say. And we're seeing a bit of a revival right now with drive-in theaters. But, there's a lot of people, myself included, who when these theaters open back up, I've got no plans of returning for a while. I mean, we can talk about people wearing masks, social distancing. The fact of the matter is you're going to take your mask off to eat popcorn or drink soda or enjoy whatever snacks you want. And who's to say people aren't going to keep them on while they're in the theater? And, we talk about close proximity being 30 minutes or more within 6 feet. If you cough or sneeze in a theater, it's going to travel more than 6 feet. So what really needs to happen is they need to kind of come up with a compromise. And I think they've done a great job here with Universal that they're going to have to start putting movies on video on demand to make money. And when we look at Trolls 2, which was 100% on demand, it made more money than Trolls 1. So there obviously is an audience right now that wants to sit at home, pay $20, which is cheaper than paying for you to go to a theater, and enjoy it that way. And kind of one thing I'm really hoping for with Tenet, because I want to see it, and we'll of course talk about it, is, dude, put it on demand, let people see it, and then when things are safer to go back to the theater, I'll pay to go see it in IMAX, kind of the way it was meant to be seen. But you're going to have movies not making as much money or being these big tent poles because they're going to be put in theaters where even if a bunch of people go see it, they're going to be limited by the number of people they have per showing.
Absolutely. And 17 days of exclusivity, I mean, that's kind of what it had already been from the beginning. But like you said, Universal found this niche with putting out Trolls, and it made a ton of money. So it's hard to say that they don't want to do that continuing forward.
Mm-hmm.
But Tracy, do you think that there's any backpedaling with what their agreement is? Do you think that this could hurt the movie industry at some point?
I think it's inevitable. I've been thinking that this window is going to shrink for a couple of years now. I'm actually surprised this hasn't happened up until now. It's such a difficult time because I feel for the theater owners. I feel for their employees. But I'm like Adam. I'm in no rush to go back to a movie, and I am a big believer in seeing stuff on the big screen if at all possible. I know Nolan is being very, very, very adamant that he does not want this released on VOD to begin with. He wants it on the big screen. He's an old school guy. He's the one, I think if it was up to Universal, they would have already released this film. But he's really pushing for it. But then on the other hand, when we don't have very much production going on, the more we release now it's going to take longer to get new stuff out for us. So it's just a really complicated, difficult issue, and I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions.
Yeah. The thing I worry about is like what we've already seen, like a huge decline in the mid-budget movies. You know, the ones that aren't like the huge ones or the very small independent, but like your Kiss Kiss Bang Bang films are the ones that, you know, don't really get made anymore. Chaz, do you think that shortening the window of it being exclusive to a theater could hurt those middle budget films, and people will focus mainly on the higher budget films to get their returns?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I could see it being like that. But I mean, I kind of had a theory that it was either going to be independent films, like smaller budget films that would save it, or it's going to be these massive blockbusters, and it's going to complicate things even more, like you were saying. So I don't know, man. It's sad. But I mean, as I jokingly
that was perfect. I don't know.
But I mean, I jokingly, I don't know. I was asking myself, you know, like when I'm in the shower or whatever, that I'm like, would I risk getting COVID to see Tenet on the big screen? And jokingly, I'm like, I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
You could
and I'm
die.
like, seriously though, I'm like, yeah, no. Like, I hope he pushes it back, because now they're saying it's gonna be released like worldwide first before the US. I'm just like, fuck.
I'm getting out of here. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Patrick, you actually brought up a good point about like the mid-sized movie. I read an article, about a year or so ago, about the fact that Hollywood isn't making those $20 million budget movies anymore. Either you got the really indie stuff or the fake indie stuff you're seeing at Sundance versus your Avengers versus your DC movies. So even before COVID hit, you know, looking at these movies, $20-30 million, with very few exceptions like Trainwreck or some of like the ones that took off Bridesmaids, you're not seeing those anymore because it's a bigger risk to take, you know, let's say after marketing $60 million on a movie that's very smally, there's a smaller niche for it than say, okay, we're going to invest $500 million in a movie that's going to make us $2 billion. So I think we've already kind of seen that happening, and this isn't really helping.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Tracy?
Well, yeah, because they already know that they have action figures and toys. There's all sorts of merchandising. There's fast food tie-ins versus a $20 million smaller budget film doesn't have any of that. So I think those films are going to end up being more on video on demand and Netflix and Hulu. I mean, there's so many competing streaming services that are all looking for content. Yeah. I think that's where those films are going to be. I don't see those movies coming back to the big screen, though. I think
you give a good point with it being Netflix or streaming, because they are in the business of what's the cheapest way to get a film out that everybody would like. It's not been the best for Netflix in some ways, because a lot of times when you see Netflix original film, you're like, uh-oh, what is this going to be? But they've also put a lot of money into stuff. What's the Russo brothers film that they just announced has a $200 million budget, which is insane.
Oh, I forget.
Ugh. But like things like that, streaming is the route to take, I would say, Tracy, when it comes to like where's the creativity going to go if the theaters and the studios are kind of trying to secure their funds and not bet on risky things when Netflix is all about betting on risky things.
Right.
Well, we'll have to see what happens from there. What do you guys think? Is there any implications that are going to happen with this that we might see like this year? Are you excited that they've started to work with each other? No one's as upset with each other as they were before. I know we did the stupid video before about AMC and Universal, but I did not have the energy to do that this time. But moving on to the next story, which is what in the fuck is Amy Adams up to? I don't know why that's the start of it, but I'm very confused by this move or why we're doing this film to begin with. This is coming from
nothing surprises me in 2020 anymore.
Because no one demanded it.
Right? Well, because nobody knew. That's the thing with 2020. Nobody knew Joe Exotic, and then out of nowhere, his ass just shows up, and it's
he was the most
normal
part of this year.
Right? And it's funny, like the name of this kind of works with the Joe Exotic turn of phrase, but Amy Adams is going to star as a woman who thinks she's turning into a dog in Anna Purina's Night Bitch.
I mean, I've seen the Shaggy DA, so you know.
It's the first furry film to have a $90 million budget. I'm just kidding. No.
I was gonna say, yeah, the furries are all gonna be watching this.
Yeah, I've been training for years. No,
I won't kink shame.
I won't either. I just have questions. You know, I haven't done a lot of Wikipedia on this, but this is based on a book from what it's looking at. See, her latest project after rapping with Oscar hopeful Ron Howard for Hillbilly Elegy. And see, I don't know what to say about this. In Night Bitch, an unnamed woman and former artist thrust into stay-at-home domesticity after the brother of her son becomes worried she's turning into a dog. Her husband, who travels for work 5 days a week, easily dismisses her fears from hotel rooms. Meanwhile, the mother is forced to contend with a very real physical manifestation of her solitary anxiety, with only her 2-year-old son for company. As her symptoms intensify, she struggles to keep her altered canine identity secret. Finally jolted to action after the impulsive and disastrous encounter with the family cat, she seeks a cure for her condition in an herbal multi-level marketing scheme. A group of mommies, and all inexplicably named Jen and Wanda White, a mysterious academic specializing in mythical...
I'm getting out of here. Goodbye!
I don't know what this is. It
almost
sounds
sounds
fake.
It sounds like something that would have been directed by Yorgos
It sounds like a Mad Lib.
Lanthimos. Yeah, like
sounds
a farce.
like a Mad Lib. They just threw in shit. Hey, you know, anxiety. The cat gets in the way. She's got to deal with the cat. Or like somebody really, really did a huge line of cocaine during the pandemic, and they're like, "All right, I got it. It's a dog."
But you said she gets. Oh, good.
I was gonna say, like, do you know who Annapurna Pictures? Like, you know what films they've done?
I mean, there's a few. I don't know what.
A lot of them have got her nominated for Academy Awards.
Was Nocturnal Animals from them?
No, so like The Master, American Hustle, Vice,
okay.
And Her.
Nice.
So I don't know if, like, I know this sounds funny. Like I was thinking like the Shaggy Dog, like Disney, but
it sounds like it, right? Or it sounds
Yes.
like what's the Kevin Spacey one where he turned into a cat?
Cats and Dogs. I don't know.
Yeah.
It happened like just before all the stuff came out about him.
Cat in the Hat.
It was ridiculous.
No, it was
something really stupid. Like it was clearly a cash grab, and it just didn't like this. I don't want this to. It feels like Look Who's Talking, but with like a lot of serious dramatic elements to it.
It was 9 Lives.
9 Lives. That I remember because everybody's top 10 worst that was in there at some point. They're like,
It was a
I
piece
don't know
of
what
shit.
the hell this was.
But really fast, Patrick, you said she gets involved in a herbal multi-level marketing thing?
Yes, herbal multi-level marketing scheme.
Okay, so it's set in Utah. We know that.
Looking
much.
for a cure.
So-
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
I wonder though if it's going to be more like a social commentary on how men treat women like dogs. essentially. Because her
Ooh.
husband's
Could be
very
that.
dismissive, and so I wonder if it's going to be like a more, I don't know, more of like an intricate level than like surface.
Well, I mean, with The Invisible Man we just had by Blumhouse, that was all about gaslighting women. So
Well, and
you
that's
can
the thing
have-
with these films. It's always strange. Like, the premise is always weird. Like Swiss Army Man, if you just read the premise, does not sound like a dramatic film, even a romantic film at that.
I
Right.
still
But it
haven't seen
is.
that because of the premise.
Oh, dude, go watch it. It's
All
Yeah,
I
go
know is
watch
that
it.
it's like some dead guy that farts and talks.
the Farting Corpse movie, and you'll love it. It's so good.
Come on, the 13-year-old in you wants to watch that movie.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
I need to start
I'm so
publicly
glad
shaming.
he's-
What do you say?
But
I
the
need to start
master-
publicly shaming you.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't have a shame button. We should have a shame button.
Shame.
I guess it's just
Shame.
the curb thing. When people do something stupid, it's their walk off. Like, we're done.
But yeah, but I mean that dude, having the curb thing as the walk off, that's kind of you having a point. Like, oh yeah, that was dumb. But
There you
had a
go.
point.
Nice. What were you saying, Chaz?
No, nothing. I was just saying the curb is like he always has a point when it happens, right? Like it's not like a shame. It's like a validated kind of a feeling.
Yeah. I want to do what's
point was
the whatever the
validation.
sound effect goes on when he does the long stare, or like the yeah. That worked really well. I don't know what else to say about this. It's a weird premise, but it is a production company that's used to weird stuff, and it works well with Amy Adams. So I don't see her doing this as like a 9 Live situation. So I can't really say that. But
I mean, she doesn't need the money, so.
she doesn't need the
Right.
money, exactly. When you
Right.
get to that point, anything goes. But Adam Sandler doesn't need the money, and he's doing stuff.
Oh, hey, if they were going to give me $100 million to sell my soul and go to Hawaii for 2 months to shoot the shittiest movie I've ever seen, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Just bring that dump truck full of money to my house.
Oh,
Drop
that
it
movie's
off.
still coming, though. That's his promise, to make the worst movie ever made because of his lack of nomination for
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Which was a really good movie, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
and like,
good.
I will watch the shit movie because I do think he got snubbed for that.
I mean, he did great in Punch Drunk Love, too. I mean, he can be a
Mhm.
good actor with the right director.
Spanglish is really good,
yeah.
too.
But again, if you're going to give me $100 million to go make a shitty movie, I don't care.
Yeah. well,
Here's my
that's
bank
true.
account number.
That's true. Well, what do you guys think of the Night Bitch movie? And that sounds weird even saying that, but what do you think of Night Bitch? Leave a comment down below.
Maybe it's
Let us
actually like a
know.
werewolf movie.
It
Those are
might
night
be.
bitches.
Ooh.
Ooh. Very well could be. We don't know yet. But moving on to Christopher Nolan. We got to talk about Christopher Nolan and put some damn respect on his name. If not, we've already given him so much like love as the film community. But we're going to do even more because, Chaz, we've talked every goddamn episode about Christopher Nolan. And it's not been purposefully. It's just come out every time. Whether it be 20 minutes into the show, you found a Tenant story that we need to throw in, or just talking about why does he want all of his fans to die of COVID? We've had a lot of questions about him lately, and now we just want to celebrate him because it was his birthday this week. I have you three here to talk about this, but let's start with you, Chaz. Whatever you want to go, wherever you want to go, let's go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Lord have
know-
mercy, I'm about to
Oh,
bust.
shit. No, I don't know. I think he's a very influential filmmaker as it shows. I don't know, dude.
What was the first thing to wet your whistle with Nolan? What was your first
my first Nolan experience?
Your first encounter?
Was actually Batman Begins.
Very good. Nice.
2005. But I didn't see that in theaters. I was young at that point. I think it was like in fifth grade.
Oh,
Oh, God, I feel
I know.
old.
It
No
was
excuse.
airing on HBO the year after that or whatever, and that's how I got the glimpse of that. And then I went to the Dark Knight premiere, which was my first midnight premiere when they still did midnight premiere stuff. So
you were just a baby.
I was in 8th grade then. Yeah.
I have a fucked up story about Dark Knight Rises, which we can get to in a minute. So, but go
Oh yeah,
ahead.
we'll get to hell yeah.
But the movie, I mean, Inception was like mind blowing because like you're in high school or whatever. But Interstellar is probably the one movie that actually made me like get wet.
Basically, you swam back to your car.
You say it so awkwardly. You gotta feel.
You could never be gay.
That was Chaz while watching Interstellar.
Well, because for his other, I saw The Dark Knight a couple times in the theater when that came out, but like Interstellar was the first movie I saw. I think I saw it 6 times within the opening week.
Oh shit!
In IMAX, yeah, I fucking loved that movie. So
you were that guy.
I was that guy. I helped to that success. Yes.
So it was like your Titanic, basically. If you were like a basic Italian bitch, that's like your Titanic.
Yeah, dude. I got wet.
Yep.
Fuck you! I'm trying to help you, motherfucker.
Well, Tracy, what was your first experience? What was your first encounter with Christopher Nolan?
My first encounter with Nolan was Memento, which was just a small independent film.
In the theaters? You saw it in theaters?
I did. It was getting some word of mouth, some buzz, and went and checked it out, and it blew me away. And I basically thought, I'm going to watch pretty much whatever this guy does moving forward. He's only had a couple of missteps with me, but the vast majority of his work I'm a fan of.
Absolutely.
Chaz is going to hate me. I didn't really like Interstellar.
Oh, we'll dive into that.
Well, here's the thing. We've got a varied group. I'm a little bit in the camp with you. I mean, I don't think I'd go to the point of I don't like it, but we will talk.
I don't hate it. I don't dislike it, but I think it's one of his lesser films.
You're going to hate me for saying this because I know it's comparing to quality. I'm not going to say it. Adam, what was your first encounter with Christopher Nolan?
You have to.
Oh, look, she's bashful. Come on, tell us what you wanted to say.
Yeah, what were you going to say,
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
No, I think Interstellar is his Batman v Superman. Moving on to Adam, let's talk about.
Oh, I didn't hate Batman v Superman, but that's a different
That's
story.
the reason. That's the reason, because you don't hate it, but it hurts to watch it a little bit.
So I sat next to Brian Young at the theater when we saw Batman v Superman. And there were parts we were looking back and forth, and then I did my review for Big Shiny and gave it like a 7 because I whatever, it was fun. And he like did a counter review with a 0. I'm like,
Jesus
honey.
Christ.
So we were on a Comic-Con panel about gatekeeping because he would like anytime someone brings up something bad about them. And I love Brian. Like Brian, you're one of my best friends. I can't wait to hang out with you when we can actually play some more board games.
Fuck you!
But people would always bring up Star Wars, how they didn't like the prequels, and he would like hop on them like that, saying don't gatekeep. But if someone brought up if they liked Batman v Superman, it was immediately shut down. So I did a very passive aggressive move on him at the gatekeeping panel. But going back to so my first Nolan movie, I always joke that my first job was Blockbuster, literally the day after I graduated high school. So we joke it's like the Tarantino school film. So brother,
Pretty dope.
So yeah, I went to Memento.
That's almost a name drop in a way. It's like
I had an independent video store called Video Shark that I started off right out of high school, and we ended up getting bought out by Blockbuster. So
oh, really?
High five to you.
So they went with you instead of Netflix.
We were a franchise. So I was a key carrying assistant, like manager, like right below the store manager. And when I went to Best Buy, I was making more money as like a seasonal associate there than I was at Blockbuster because it was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, I went to Memento because I had heard good word of mouth on it. No clue who Chris Nolan was. And Tracy, just like you, fell in love with it. It was just such a unique way to present a movie. And to a point where I've never actually seen it that way before. But it wasn't David Lynch-esque where you're like watching it and like at the end you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? It makes sense at the end, and the way they played out, I've never seen a movie where you 100% completely understand from the protagonist's point of view. And for me, that was just such a unique and interesting way to tell the story. But yeah, that's what started it. And then, moving on to where we are now, obviously Tenet is, my next big thing on the radar, which eventually I will see one day. Going back to Interstellar though, my big problem with Interstellar was the sound mixing was off. And then when people complained about it, and this is kind of pissy if Chris Nolan was saying like, oh, it was meant to be that way. And when I saw it a second time, like 2 weeks later, they'd fixed it. It was kind of like Steve Jobs. It was like Steve Jobs saying, oh no, you're holding your iPhone wrong. It's like, dude, fuck off. Just
I remember that too, because I didn't look at a pirated version of that prologue when it first came out of the Bane situation, all of the plane sequence. But that first one you hear, it is very different from when you see it in the theater. It's like, oh wow, that sounds dubbed. The other one sounded like it was actually in camera and he was talking, but
Yeah,
like,
no,
even his delivery changed a slight bit, which was really off-putting if you saw the first part of it. If you saw it at the beginning.
yeah. So that's my complaint with Interstellar, but I thoroughly enjoyed the film. So.
Well, Christopher Nolan is one of the directors that is up on the level of Kubrick, Spielberg, some of the top names, and he's still going today and making groundbreaking films, whether it be through sound design, special effects, or just through the visual format of storytelling. He really is able to do everything with his stuff. And arguably, he made the best superhero trilogy that still has not been usurped. Some people might say Captain America.
Fuck no.
But I guess the best way to go into it, I want to first talk about some fun facts about Christopher Nolan, because I think it's interesting. This guy, if anything, is very outside of the norm when it comes to Hollywood directors and just the things that he does. Like, he's off the grid. He loves his actual mail. He'll be pissed if the post office closes. He loves to carry a flask of hot tea on set, which is a new thing that we just found out. It's Earl Grey tea. In fact, during it, Morgan Freeman during Batman was thinking that it was just a power move, and that in there was just like gin or something. He was just drinking, walking on set. But then I was like, have you seen that guy? There's no way that that's. But he loves Bond. He's always wanted to make a Bond film, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service is his favorite film. So you see that a lot in all of his movies, actually. With Inception, there's a lot of James Bondness to it. I think with Tenet, you can kind of see that there's some James Bondness in some ways.
He said is his James Bond film.
Very cool. And from there, I mean, like, his wife has always been a co-producer. His favorite scene in The Dark Knight was the interrogation scene, which I think everybody might say is their favorite too.
It's probably the most famous one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think from that film, he really wanted to go for Seven and Heat. Like, they're moving in that direction and showing like the cast and crew of those films to get them prepped for it. But what do you guys think about? I guess let's start with the rankings. If anything, rank the Nolan films. I asked all of my guests to start ranking, and we'll go with Chaz first, because I just want to hear you speak the love. What? It's okay.
Last. Okay.
Oh, you don't have to be last. It's okay. Tracy, go for it.
Okay, Tracy.
Hey, wait a minute.
Fuck you! I'm trying to help you, motherfucker.
I would probably put Inception as my number one for Nolan. To me, that one really hits on the action beats. It hits on the intellectual storytelling. He has a way of making his films really, really smart, but really, really accessible. Like Adam was saying earlier, it's not like David Lynch where you're like the first time I saw Eraserhead, I was like, what the hell?
No.
That was in film school too. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? But yeah, I'd probably start with Inception would be my number one.
Awesome. I didn't really tell anybody how to go through these. What else did you guys rank? Did you rank everything? Everything that you've seen or everything you have? I know, Chaz. We know you ranked everything. But I put in some stuff that I've not seen before, so I don't feel good about talking about Doodlebug. I don't feel good about talking about Following. But
okay, you can't do that. If you ever join the Utah Film Critic Association, I will bash the hell out of you at award season if you do that. We actually had to make rules about people voting for things they hadn't seen.
But I'm not including them. I'm just saying they exist.
Oh, they said you ranked them.
Well, can you rank them if they're just at the bottom because you don't know? It's like there's no way to tell. So
you just switch them back to the cornfield. So there you go.
Yeah. They're like the cards in a deck of cards that you don't use, but then when you read it, you're like, shit, those were the rules. Something like that. But I guess we can start with our 5. Let's go for 5, and then our honorable mentions. How about that? So Tracy, what were your other 4 with these?
I would put Insomnia up there. I like that one quite a bit. The Dark Knight, to me, is the best of that trilogy. Batman Begins at a high level. Dark Knight took it to the next level, and then to me, it dropped down a little bit for Dark Knight Rises. He kind of chickened out. He could have had a great ending, and kind of went for the easy ending. But then probably The Prestige would round out my 5.
Very cool. That's a good list. Adam, what do you have?
So for me, Dunkirk will always be his magnum opus, unless Tenet, takes it back.
So
Nolan
that's
movies.
number one. Explain. I need to have more explanation to that. Magnum opus. Why?
So if you think about it, Nolan's movies are notoriously pretty long. I mean, Dark Knight Rises. You're sitting on your butt for a while. So Dunkirk. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are some, like Judd Apatow, for instance, is known for like, oh, you should cut 20 minutes out right there. But Dunkirk, he effectively told an amazing story in 100 minutes that never lets go from the moment it starts. And the fact that it's showing these events 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, and now they all tie together, and how the timeline jumps around, and the magic of using that ticking clock throughout the whole thing, which is just constantly building tension. And if you've ever seen, like Hannah Gadsby does, and Nanette talks about how the whole point is tension and then relief. That movie never gives you that relief until like literally the very last second, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is what happened. And the fact that it was based on a true story. My grandfather was actually captured at the Battle of Dunkirk.
Really?
Yeah. And so, side note, so my grandfather, his life story could be a movie. He was captured by the Nazis, put in a concentration camp. He escaped, ran through Europe, hid out in this little market in Belgium where my grandmother and her mom would hide out GI soldiers, got back to England, came back, won World War II, and then picked up my grandma and took her back to the UK on his way back there, and then came to America. So yeah, it's his, actually, he was
fucking awesome. Yeah. That's a movie right there.
He recorded his,
that's dope. That's so dope.
He wrote down and recorded his memoirs. And so we've got them on like 40 CDs on mom's house, like backed up. I'm actually need to put them on digital, so they're 100%
That's
saved.
cool.
So it's cool to go back and actually look at the historical records of that. But again, you could tell a story there's not a single frame of that movie that is not meant to be where it is. In fact, the last movie I could think of that did that was Drive, because there's not a single wasted moment in that film. So for me, it was like he took every single little piece of thing he learned from 20 years of filmmaking almost, and put it all together in that movie. Yeah. So that was actually my second favorite movie of the year, or it might have been number one. I don't remember.
That was beautifully explained, Adam. I appreciate that. I really, because when I watched it first in theater, the only thing that was really, I loved the time aspect. I loved that it was so immersive, especially being in an IMAX theater. Like just those sounds were insane to be a part of. But I really thought in the small screen format, it didn't work as well for me, which might be Nolan's intention. But that was the only reason why I had a little bit of issue with it, was just it lost what was really crazy about it.
Well, I've got a 65-inch 4K if you want to come over and watch on it.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Anyways, Tracy, you were talking about something with Dunkirk.
My first viewing of it was down at the Jordan Commons on 94th and State, and unfortunately they had sound issues that day. So it was really hard to understand the dialogue. That movie's told in such a way that you don't really have to have a lot of dialogue. You can watch it visually and follow along, but it did kind of lessen it for me, which I was disappointed about. Didn't take away from the movie. I've seen it since. It works extremely well, but yeah, that was kind of a bummer.
No, I can understand that. That's how Interstellar was the first time I saw it. So
what are your other four, Adam? If Dunkirk's, your number one is Dunkirk, then
yeah, okay. I would go with The Dark Knight for number two. It's a movie I think still holds up today. He obviously owes a huge debt to Frank Miller back in the 80s, Dark Knight comics. And I go after, it's hard. I'm going to go with Inception, followed by The Prestige, and then probably Memento, because that was the one that got me into it.
Very good.
Like I said before, it's a great way. Yeah.
That's awesome. I really didn't expect Dunkirk being number one, so that's cool. We've got very varying lists in this group. I'm going to do mine.
I don't know where Chaz is going to go, though.
I know. Well, Chaz is last because I'm going next. No. Mine's probably the most basic bitch 5 of everybody's. Yeah, but it's truly how I feel. What I was sitting down and thinking about, it's like, what were the ones that I really, like, they weren't like the ones where if I'm in a crowd, I'm going to be like, oh, but it was a tour de force. Even though it's like, that wasn't my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. And I can't say that to the group or else it'll be weird. But now I'm saying it to everybody. The Dark Knight is number one for me, always. It changed the way I looked at films. I was at a very impressionable age. I was, believe, junior in high school when it came out. and it changed everything. I showed up to the theater dressed up. I had never done that. When I left, I was shaken. Like, I just didn't know what to think. I was like, this is not just a Batman movie. This felt weird. I feel different. And just like as a high schooler, you're already dealing with so many other things. Like, that's on top of it. But the more I watched it, like, I've seen this film more than his other films, like twice over. It really is fantastic. Heath Ledger's incredible. A lot of people make fun of Christian Bale's voice. It doesn't get that bad until Rises. The Dark Knight isn't the worst, but it gets there a little bit towards towards a certain point. But that's number one for me. Inception's number two. I feel like Adam actually helped me make that a final decision, because I watched it this morning, and when watching it, I was thinking in the perspective of this is an allegory for filmmaking. Right. And it changes everything. I read a Screen Rant thing where Nolan confirmed what each character was. It's weird to say I disagree, but I disagree with some of the things that they put on it.
Well,
like,
don't ever go to Screen Rant. They're horrible. So.
Yeah. So if I were to break it down, I would say Cobb is a director, obviously. Ellen Page is production design. She's the one that builds the sets, does all the things. I would say Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they put him as his producer, but I would think that would be Ken Watanabe's character, because he's the one that's financing it and he wants to make a return on his investment. And usually they show up in the filmmaking process and get shot or something weird happens.
Yeah, they're known as angels.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm serious. They're known as angels.
And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I thought, would be the script supervisor, if anything, because he's the only one that's like, can we just get on point? And he's getting, and like the parts where like Tom Hardy, who I think is the actor in it, shows up. Like, actors and script supervisors usually have like a little thing, because the actor wants to do it their way because they're on tours, but it's like
the actor wants to improvise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what the part where he's like, you must think a little bit bigger, darling, and pulls up the huge gun. Like, that's the part I was like, wow, that really does work like that. So that was really interesting. It hooked me from start to finish again, and I get new things out of it every time I watch it, and that's what I loved about that. 3, The Prestige. I love The Prestige. Batman Begins is number 4. I think that's his best Batman film. The Dark Knight is his best film. And then I went Interstellar, believe it or not, for 5. So Chaz, that's where I'm going to tee off with you, because I know what your number 1 is already. We see if we see your backdrop. Let's talk about it.
Dark Knight. No, I'm just kidding. No, it is Interstellar. Going back to, real quick, I want to defend something, like with the sound design and stuff. Because like when I saw it in IMAX the first time, the whole theater was like rumbling and vibrating, and like it was just like you're inside a capsule the whole time. It's like, I don't know if that's what he meant, but by like maybe he did it on purpose, because like I agree that sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand what they're saying. But like also though, it's fucking sexy, dude. Like I can't watch that film without surround sound. I can't watch it without surround sound. It's just a matter of fact. Like you have to turn that bitchin' bass up, you know. But anyway, yeah, Interstellar number 1. Woo.
Well, explain more. Why Interstellar number 1? Why the stupid love shit making it why does that make it number 1? Dude, I watched it this week. I still don't like that. Every time I'm like, yeah, but you know, what? It's the same. The love part of that, the love aspect and the explaining how they do the ending was just as bad to me. And this is where I guess the comparison comes in as Martha for Batman v Superman. Where it's like, are we really going to go down this road?
Are you fucking kidding me? No. No.
A little bit.
No.
A little bit.
No.
A little bit.
Here's the thing, dude. Like when they
Adam, do you have popcorn?
Oh, here's the thing.
I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here and vape the whole time.
Fucking accuser!
That whole
this was my shtick last time, so I'll just keep doing it.
Well, I had no idea.
Dave Chappelle over there.
Well, no, I had no idea that people had issues with that scene or that plot device until I hit college, because people started listing Nolan, and like the teachers rolled their eyes, being like, "All these Nolan fans," which I thought was really like seriously, but a lot of people hated it Interstellar because of the whole love concept, and I'm like, but you don't fucking know. It's a black hole. The fact they went to that level to include like a 5th dimensional thing into like a 4th dimensional, like they made gravity and love like time. Essentially, they made time a 4th dimensional thing, so you could go through. Like it's so fucking like what the hell? And like there's no way when you're watching Interstellar, you'd be like, oh yeah, they're gonna get sucked into a fucking black hole. You're not gonna think that at all. That's not even like be the process. Like when
But
he
you're not
fucking
gonna
did
think
that,
he's gonna show up in a goddamn bookcase. 5 million bookcases.
but it's time.
Well, why
It's
wouldn't he?
himself. Yeah, it's all like a full circle, dude. How
Can't
beautiful
you
is it
see
he's
that,
like,
you son of a bitch?
here's the thing too, is that like he's like for the whole movie we're like, oh yeah, they chose him for whatever reason. Like there's some sort of intelligence out there that chose him, and like what's going on this journey. But it turns out, and he even says
chose
himself.
him. Yeah. I
He chose
understand
him,
it.
but
I
they
just don't
chose
like
his
it.
daughter.
That's the thing. It's
And the only way he realized that is because he loved her, and like there's a feeling of like loss and isolation from his kids because they realized that, oh, you fucking
shit that we get from Batman v Superman. It's
bullshit,
the same
dude.
goddamn
Fuck that.
yelling over. Yeah, I understand. No, you don't understand. No,
So,
I
Alex
get
Jones
it. I
on here.
understand it.
So there's a movie that came out.
I don't know what to do anymore.
There's a movie that came out like 2 years ago, I think it was, and then the UFCA gave it Best Film of the Year, which is they were wrong. It was called A Ghost Story. I don't know if you saw
God.
it. It was
Ooh, is that Casey Affleck in a sheet?
Casey Affleck in a sheet, right? And so here's the thing: is Interstellar did the whole circular thing correct. Like they did it where you could see it in like you could maybe guess it, but when you see it happen, like, oh, that's so fucking cool. Whereas Ghost Story was just pretentious about it. And then, you know, at the end, all of a sudden, it's like time repeats itself, and you're just like, yeah, but I guess so. Like, you can do that really cool time loop thing and do it the right way. And I really think Interstellar did. And off the top of my head, I can't think of other movies that may have done it differently. But no, I'm definitely with Chaz on this. The Interstellar with that circular loop was done really well.
Well, I think another movie that comes to mind that does that kind of is like Arrival. That has to do with time, like being like it's a different concept.
Arrival did it well.
Time. Well, Arrival did, but they did it in a different way. Like there's different reasons why they
Exactly.
They did
I'm with Adam on the side
Jodie
that the
Foster
pretentiousness
one
was
as
showing
well.
a little.
Oh, Contact?
Yeah.
But going back to real quick, also with Interstellar, dude, that moment when he fucking drops into a black hole, I don't think anybody in the theater was expecting him to drop in a fucking black hole. And then, like, when you see him go into the black hole, I'm like, he dies? What the fuck? Like,
I think the minute they said that the minute that they showed up in the new galaxy and they're like, everything's pulled to this black hole, I knew it. I was like,
dude,
we're going to go into the black hole then. That's the one thing in space that nobody ever does. We're going to go in a black hole.
Dude, he popped my mindfuckery cherry. And, like, it's been mindfucked before, but I mean, like, he fucking, like, exploded my mindfuckery cherry.
I don't even have a sound effect for that one. I don't know what you just said.
The atomic bomb going off. There you go.
To me, he did in Interstellar what he should have done in Dark Knight Rises. He could have killed off Batman. He could have had him sacrifice himself. They've been setting this up, and then Batman somehow miraculously survives and now gets to go live with Catwoman.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't understand how he survived.
That's not in Alfred's head. If you think it's in Alfred's head, though, it kind of makes it more beautiful. Which it might be that. There's really no point where he could have jumped out. I watched it so closely. I was just like, where does he do it?
When he starts flying over the harbor, I'm thinking to myself, oh, goddamn, he's actually going to do this. He has the balls to kill off his character so that they can't use this cinematic universe version of his work. He's finishing out this trilogy literally with a bang.
And see, I think, and again, I have no evidence of this being true or not, but I could see Nolan having that idea as his ending. That was how he wanted to end it. And then
Wouldn't surprise me.
studio fuckery comes in and says, well, no, you can't kill Batman. We have to have Batman for our next
They're
thing.
like, can you make that one guy Robin?
Yeah.
At the end and have him rise up.
That whole movie reeks of studio fuckery. It was like Spider-Man 3. You know, Sam Raimi had a great idea for Spider-Man, and I don't think Venom was even an idea for what he wanted to do with it. And the studio made him throw it in. So now you've got like 50,000 different things coming in. And Spider-Man 3 is arguably, and it deserves to say, the worst Spider-Man movie, maybe Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, which is actually, I bought that movie in 4K just to see it in 4K, and it's worth watching a couple scenes in 4K. But no,
like that shit in 4K.
I just bought a 4K player. Fuck off.
That's just hurting.
I worked
that movie. Here,
I got a discount.
I'll give you the Dark Knight trilogy in 4K to watch.
Actually, I need to get that still. I have Interstellar in 4K though, so I think
that would be a good one. Old Chaz just eyes just rolled back into his head.
You can come over and we can cuddle. But no, I think The Dark Knight Rises should have been a much better movie than it was. And honestly, if Heath Ledger had still been alive, they would have had a lot, because he was supposed to be the judge sending people off to their deaths in when they were judging people to go walk out on the ice. So
Right.
Do you think there had been more to that? I think that wasn't the only thing Joker was going to be in with that. They had to change
probably
more.
not.
Chaz, we didn't even get to your other four because Interstellar. What were your other four picks?
My number 2 is the making of Interstellar. No.
The special edition disc.
You bitch.
Yeah, it's more of like an homage to Kubrick in that one. No, The Dark Knight. I put The Dark Knight as number 2, which seems like a very common trend with this group of people.
Because it's true. It's one of the best.
I put Inception as number 3 because I think
nice.
Inception still holds up too.
It does.
Like I watched it like about 2 months ago, and I thought it still looks good as ever. So The Prestige is number 4. And The Prestige is actually one of my least revisited, but I don't know. It has a lot of cool stuff, and it has fucking David Bowie as Tesla. Like, you can't get
Andy
better than that.
Serkis is in it. Andy Serkis in a non-motion capture role.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
That and 13 going on 30.
He did that
Wait,
before
what?
Marvel did. Boom.
13 going on 30.
Andy Serkis is in
remember
that?
Yep.
What?
He's like one of the people, like when they become 30, he's one of the people, like a valet or something like that. I don't remember who he is. I just never seen it.
That's funny.
Oh shit. Okay. And then number 5 actually is The Dark Knight Rises.
Ah, interesting. See, that was my number 6, but I also really get what Adam and Tracy are saying, that it was their studio. I didn't think it was studio meddling. I thought it was Nolan kind of being a little emotionally bankrupt from The Dark Knight. Like I figured what it was Heath Ledger's passing fucked him up hard for completing it, because there's no way that they wrote The Dark Knight and were like, and I guess if they want us back, we'll look into thinking of what the next story would be. They totally knew what was going to go from there. So a lot of that.
Well, it was like Rise of Skywalker after Last Jedi.
Oh, no. You can't make that comparison.
Of course I can. Man.
Shit, you're right. God damn it.
We won't get into my thoughts on Rise of Skywalker.
But I have a theory, though. I have a theory as to why The Dark Knight Rises might not have been as great as it could have been. Because he was prepping for Interstellar.
There's a lot of
I hate you.
I thought it was more because of he spent all his stuff. He prematurely shot his wad, you would say, on Inception, because there's a lot of people that transitioned into The Dark Knight Rises that came from Inception.
Right.
I want to say something real quick with Dunkirk, with Mr. Sithbot.
You remember my name? How rude!
Wow.
This is awkward. Adam, that's it. No, I know it. This is awkward. No,
it's okay. I fuck up every first part of this. What did I just do to Tracy the first time?
Yeah, seriously. No, so with Dunkirk, though, I think I was so thrown out of Dunkirk is because when they announced he's going to do a World War II movie, I'm like, oh, how's it going to be Nolan?
Mm-hmm.
How's it going to be Nolan-fied? And I'm like, the Bermuda Triangle. Fuck. Like, somebody's gonna, like, it's going to be like, actually take place in the Bermuda Triangle, right? And like, all this craziness. That was not the case, obviously. It was a very straightforward war film, but experimented a lot with editing. And I think for Dunkirk, even though like it's not my favorite, I think it showed to me that like Nolan knows exactly when to cut and how to tell a story in a very poetic way, because it very much feels like a poem, like an epic poem on the big screen.
Well, you got it right. I mean, he did win the Oscar for best film editing for that movie. So
did he?
Or he didn't, but it was Lee Smith did. But
he did. Okay, so like I don't remember that year that much for the Oscars, but
I would say it's 2018. Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about Insomnia as well, because that's
Insomnia. No, I'm just
it's an important role. Robin Williams, Al Pacino, they had a lot of people involved.
Okay,
but that's the first time you get a look of a locate. One thing I noticed with Nolan, he uses locations all the time, like reuses locations constantly, especially those snowy mountains. Like they're everywhere.
Without Insomnia, you don't have any of these other films. That was his moving from auteur filmmaker to mainstream filmmaking that was enjoyable for the mass audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what did you think about? Because I'm not the one that has seen his short film and following. So, whoever can comment on that.
I haven't seen The Following or Insomnia in a long time. So,
well, It's not like we're
So-
looking through all of them.
so
through
we-
the full thing.
We had to watch as a short film in one of my film classes, and it's very, I don't know, Nolan-esque. You can kind of see some of the groundwork, like how he exactly picked up a camera and did things. But the following, it's a pretty solid independent film, and I think it's cool how he did start independent, and now he's like this fucking massive blockbuster.
Well, in a way, he's still kind of independent because he's got so much clout. He can really do what he wants to do, but inside the studio system and use their money, which
Yeah.
is
Rich
brilliant.
independent.
Mhm.
So rich, he became independent again.
Well, I
Right.
also- well, I
It's
also like-
true.
Well, I mean, I also like how like his brother Jonathan Nolan, like it's like one of his main collaborators, and so it's
Huge
like a
part.
whole family thing. Like with
So-
his
writer-
wife is producing, it's like a whole family triangle of artists.
One thing about I like when Jonah is working with Christopher. I don't think Jonah's as good on his own. He did that movie. Was it with Keanu Reeves where they uploaded the intelligence into the system, or was it?
Oh,
Transcendence.
yeah. Transcendence. That
Yeah,
was with Wally
Transcendent.
Pfister directing.
And then Westworld, which I loved the first season, but since then it's been kind of mediocre. He's
Yeah,
got
I've only
really
seen the first
great
season,
ideas and just
It's a little
doesn't
true.
know how to complete them.
No, that's a good point. But Goyer's worked with him on some stuff as well. And then with Tenet, I guess that's where we can lead up to with like what's going to happen with Tenet. Did he write? Was this another co-written with Jonathan, or was this a all on his own type deal? I know that
think
he's
it was
got a lot of
co-written
new
with
actors.
Jonathan.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And so I only know Michael Caine as a returning cast member that's involved, but he's going a lot more for new talent, or I guess younger talent with like Robert Pattinson and John David Washington.
Oh no, it was written for Nolan.
It was just written by him. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Just Christopher. Okay.
And you said, Tracy, this is going to be his Bond film that he's working. That this should be.
Well, there were rumors for years that he was actually going to be named a Bond director, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't. There's so many rules."
Not
when
that
I
Bond.
make a Bond film.
He looked at
I
Daniel
think that
Craig.
there's so much limitations that you can do with that character in that sandbox. You're limited, and he doesn't like to be limited. So you saw that in parts of it in Inception. There were parts of a James Bond type movie, but just from the trailers and the little bit we know about it, it definitely looks like this is kind of his homage to those. I know in Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of his favorite films.
Well, and I think what we talked about earlier was that he learned his lesson, about regarding doing a James Bond movie from Dark Knight Rises, because I don't think that was his ending.
Right.
And I think that this, again, people stepped in and says, you can't do this. It's like, well, I want to. It's like, well, you can't. It's like, well, shit, I've already cashed the paycheck. So,
I guess I better do it your way.
yeah, I'm not giving that money back.
Oh man.
He's reported to receive 20% the first dollar gross.
Wow.
And the budget's $220 million, and it's like the most expensive original idea film.
Well, Nolan.
One of the reasons that the studio and Nolan doesn't want to release this on VOD is because he's one of the few directors who has enough of a name and a clout that it's a guaranteed box office success. If things had gone the way that they had hoped, that COVID had died off somewhat during the summer, they were thinking they were going to make bank with this movie. Like Adam said, it'll come out, and I'd probably see it like midweek, first showing, and try and get as far in the back as I can. But otherwise, I'm having a hard time justifying it.
But Buku Bucks is correct with Nolan because he sits at number 5 of all of the top directors' highest grossing with $1.983 billion. That is more than James Cameron. He's usurped Avatar and Titanic with mainly all original films. Pretty awesome.
Right.
Well, it was interesting too talking about this because someone had posted on Twitter they were excited to go see it, and I was like, well, I'll wait. I'm not going to see it in theaters. And this person jumped on and was talking about how, you think it's going to be horrible, this and that. You don't know anything about movies. And I was like, oh, honey, okay, you're a friend of a friend, so I'm not going to destroy you right now. But they're like, oh, well, I was like, it's not going to make money unless it's on VOD. And like, oh, well, it should make 400 million worldwide. I'm like, cool. After marketing costs, their break-even point is 450. Because this was expected to be like $1 billion movie. And it goes back to what we talked about at the very, very beginning of this, is that doing a release of like, hey, it'll either be in theaters for a certain amount of time or it'll be VOD and then come back to theaters. That's how films like this are going to make money. Because again, you tell me like, hey, you can sit down with your friends and for $30 rent this movie to watch it once. I'd be like, take my money. And I think a lot of people would, especially now that we have home theater systems. And we've got, you can get a 65-inch TV for like $500 nowadays. So you can get, you can duplicate to a point that experience in your house. And even then I'll still shell out $30 to go see it in theaters again when it comes out. So
yeah,
I don't know.
For film fans, everybody will still be going to a Nolan film because it's kind of it's on your list. It's a must watch. And we don't have a lot of other movies that were on the list that are coming out. Like Wes
Dune.
Anderson's film is not coming. We don't know with Dune yet.
It hasn't been disannounced.
I know. So maybe.
I'm hopeful. There's rumors. I don't know if it's from one of those shitty journalist websites, but they're saying it could possibly, the trailer could drop like in August at some sort of con.
Well, what I'm hopeful for is that starting, it might have gotten bumped up. This is before COVID, because the members of the Academy, they get screeners of movies, and they always get a bunch of like cool things, like, hey, vote for this movie. But this is the last year they're doing physical screeners and going to a fully digital format, not just because it's cheaper, but also because it combats piracy. So I get screeners every year too, as part of the UFCA. So I'm like, just do it all, just screeners. Just do all the movie screeners, and I'll just review them and have fun. And then, I'll be sad not to have a box full of DVDs, but much easier to do it that way.
Very nice. Well, it's time for our next stupid thing where we're going to be talking about Marry Nolan. Where we're going to have to, I will give you 3 people and you will have to tell me who you would F, who you would marry, and who you would Nolan. All right?
What's F?
Fork. in Utah, that's what it is.
That. Oh God, not that song. Shut up. Okay. So, here's your people: Marion Cotillard, Cillian Murphy, and Christopher Nolan.
Wait, what?
Yeah, who would you F? Who would you marry? And who would you Nolan?
Oh, I'd Nolan.
Good pick. Good pick.
I'd fuck Cillian Murphy because he's got a nice dick. And then marry.
I'd argue there between those two, there was no other option for you.
Well, I haven't seen Nolan's dick, so.
Oh, boy.
28 Days Later. It's like the first scene of the movie.
No, it's true. I agree. I think I would marry Christopher Nolan. I would F Christopher Nolan, and I would Nolan Christopher Nolan.
That's not how this game works.
That's not how this game works.
Okay.
That's like putting Interstellar as your top 5.
Well, it's Nolan, Chaz, what are your picks?
Sorry.
No, Tracy, go.
He needs time to think about it.
Marion Cotillard. Marry Nolan, and Nolan Cillian Murphy.
Ooh, interesting. I didn't think Cillian had it in him to get that, but he needs to be Nolan,
We should probably explain to people what we mean by Nolan, because you had to explain it to me.
I don't have an explanation of it, which makes it better.
So this is your version of spinning the top, basically?
I just want to know who'd you Nolan.
I told you who I'm Nolan.
I'm like Michael at the Italian restaurant. Give me the gabagool. I don't care that I don't know what that means. Chaz, who would you Nolan?
I'll go with Tracy. Actually, I'd say
Nolan Tracy.
No. Cillian Murphy. I think that'd be a good fit because he's been used before. He's already been Nolan-fied, but how much more could he be Nolaned?
Yeah, he's turned a lot of tricks for Nolan, so he's pretty dried up at this point.
I'm like Chaz.
He just shows up on the set of Tenet all wired out. Please, I'll be in the back.
As far as Mary, I'd probably marry. What's her name? Marion
Cotillard. Oof, dude, I didn't even bring this up. She was my first big crush in like the Nolan verse. I was like, wow.
Yeah, because look, I'm not gonna be trashy and say fuck her because
that's not trashy. It's a compliment if you're not meaning it in a horrible way,
But dude,
Like, you
I mean,
better gently. It wouldn't be
but
like go
but
to
if you
a
fuck
alleyway.
Nolan, you could get all of his secrets.
I don't know that that's how sex works.
But also, I mean, as far as
You're not
fucking
doing it
Nolan
right.
go, dude, but as far as
Give me your
fucking Nolan
secrets.
go, I mean, I'd fuck Interstellar.
Oh, that is a good.
Yeah, but then you get stuck in that black hole.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. And with that, I want to thank my guests for coming onto this show and giving us, like, this is probably one of the best shows we've had this month. And to close out this fucking stupid month with a good show, it makes me very happy. So, Adam, thank you so much. Where can the people find you? What you're working on?
So kind of on hiatus right now from Big Shiny Robot because there ain't shit to see. Interestingly enough, we are recording our kind of relaunch of Funny Books and Firewater tomorrow. That should be coming out the first week of October. We're doing horror books again. And as far as like film review podcast, trying to branch out, see what I can do with that. Just been away from work for a little bit, kind of recharging the batteries and going back to that pretty soon. But yeah, the big thing is keeping out for Funny Books and Firewater. I'm pushing really hard to rebrand as Tonics and Comics, but we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So
very cool. Thank you again for coming on. And
yeah, of course.
We'll look forward to that stuff when it comes out. And Tracy, I know that you went from the Movies That Make Us podcast, because I can say it now, but where else can the people find you? What are you working on? We've got Cast Off going. How's that been?
Cast Off is good. I'm going up against Randy Yarbrough. Do not know my film yet. Good luck against Valerie doing the Muppets.
Oh my
I'm
God.
excited to.
I'm going to say
to see that one.
Let me just say, it took a while for Craig to explain to me exactly what we were doing with this, because I did not get it for a few minutes. So we're just doing it this way? And he's like, no. Valerie had to jump in. It was a mess. But
well,
yeah,
when he announced it, because he announced the movie after my competition with Mission Impossible Fallout, and he asked me between the two of you who I would lean towards, and I said Val, mostly because I do a show with her, so there's some loyalty there. I love you, Patrick. Thank you for having me on the show. I said Patrick's a little younger. Val kind of grew up more with the Muppets. I don't know if Patrick has a deep knowledge of the Muppets as Val does, but it's going to be a heck of a battle. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm like an Indian matchmaker. Like I find people and I put them to the right movie, and hopefully I did that right with this.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see that one go down.
Very cool. Chaz, where can the people find you? I saw your new episode of Over and Under Artists Exposed came out. Yep.
That's with Brogan Goulis. I don't remember how you say his last name. He even said it was hard to pronounce, so he just goes by Brogan.
It's not cute. Even he didn't get it.
Nah, he's like I go.
It's a good episode though. I listened to a little bit of it. You got some good shit in there.
Yeah, follow me on there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Letterboxd maybe. I'm gonna try to throw that in more often.
What kind of gifts would you like to receive from Interstellar?
Gifts?
Or how can we? Because I'm sure that people are going to be bugging you from this point on for a little bit.
They're gonna be like, wow.
What's the best way? Yeah,
they're gonna be like, "Wow, you liked Interstellar, you fucking baby." They're gonna send me Matthew McConaughey.
No, I doubt they do that. Oh man. Well, I'm very excited for next week, the next shows. The shows are coming back in August, and we've got all kinds of shit going on. I will see you guys in the next review, and thank you again for watching.
No problem.
Woo!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.